So our today's speaker is Sébastien Alix. He's an Odoo developer since 2009, an OCA contributor soon after, and working at Com2Com currently. He's going to talk about collect data to improve estimates of migration projects.
Thank you, Alexandre. Good morning, everyone. So I changed the title of this talk yesterday. Initially, it was just about oca-port, a tool I wrote some years ago in OCA. And that will be a talk about oca-port and another tool that is using oca-port, so an Odoo instance that is collecting some data to improve your estimates of migration projects. But not only, it's also about maintenance for project manager, business analyst, and developers. So I will skip that one because Alexandre just introduced me. But yeah, since all these years, I'm still fighting with migrations, as everybody. So we are trying to create tools to improve this workflow. So the first part of this talk will be about oca-port, what it is, the new features that has been introduced since my last talk 2 years ago about this tool. And the second part of this talk will be about the collecting Odoo modules data to do an inventory of Odoo modules across all Odoo ecosystem, and to consolidate this migration data, and then to improve your maintenance and migration estimate. So oca-port is a tool helping maintainers of modules. It's called oca-port, but you can also use it for your own repository. It does two things. This is to migrate modules, so following the OCA guidelines. Or if your modules is already migrated in the target branch, it will help you to port missing stuff, so the commits that you was not able to detect in the target branch from the source branch. And then to reduce the gap and to avoid regressions when you migrate your project to a new version, for instance, from 14 to 18. The tool is available on PyPy. You can install it with PyPex. You will need a GitHub token to use it. It can work without, but you will be limited by the number of requests you can do on GitHub API. So that's better to set one. If you are not using the GitHub token environment variable, it will try to use a GH tool if it is installed locally on your workstation. So the first feature is to migrate modules. To automate the first steps you will find in the OCA migration guide. So it will play the git format patch and pre-commit run. And then it will print some tooltips for the developers about the next steps. So to reduce the number of commits, OCA translation commits, to adapt the module to a given version. There is a typo, it's not 16, it's 18 here. And the next git command you need to enter to proceed with your migration branch and push it on your fork to open a pull request on OCA repository. Also, if Odoo Module Migrator, which this is another project hosted in OCA, if this tool is installed on your workstation, oca-port will use it to transform the code of your module, like tree tag replaced by list in a new version of Odoo, and this kind of stuff. And the second feature is about listing missing pull requests and commits within this pull request. If your module is already migrated on the target branch. So we have an example here. I tried to compare the commits of a given add-on from branch 16 to 18. and he detected a pull request, a missing one, related to this add-on. So he will describe it with its link, the author, when it has been merged. If there is several pull requests missing, they will be sorted on the merge date. So to avoid conflicts when you try to port contribution one after the other. And then you will propose it to port it. We could have false positive here. So it could detect commits that are already existing on the target branch, and you have the opportunity to blacklist unwanted pull requests because they are just no's, and that's it. The next time you will run the tool, it won't propose it anymore. And the blacklisted pull request will be stored in the GitHub repository in a hidden folder. And once it is done, it will propose you to create a draft pull request directly on the repository. If you didn't set a destination, so the fork when you want to push your branch and the destination branch when you want to push it, it will not create anything, but just give you the title of the pull request and the pull request body. You can copy paste and when you create the pull request manually on OCA. Otherwise, you can do that automatically if you set a destination. We will come to that right after. So the integration of Odoo module migrator is a new feature. We are also now able to migrate port modules between repository, and we can handle modules in subfolders, so not only in the root folder like OCA policy. We can rename a module as well. We can use also local branches. If you just have some branches you rework locally and you want to port this work you have done there to another one. And we can set manually the destination branch as well. So there is three notions: the source branch, the one you put as a first argument, the target branch, that will be used for the comparison with the timing large repository is a bit costly, so we need to store the information about commits because the comparison of the commits is not done against the SHA of the commit, but on different attributes like the author, the commitment date, and this kind of stuff, or the message of the commit. So on the right, we can see a move of a module from one repository to another. For instance, the WMS repository on OCA is not used anymore for the 18 version, so all of the modules of OCA WMS have been moved to other repository, like stock logistic workflow, stock logistic barcode, or whatever. And here we simply clone the OCA repository. I add a new remote, WMS, and then I launch the comparison of this commit, of this module. So from WMS 16 to stock logistic workflow 18 for my add-on. And you will be able to either migrate the module to this new repository if it doesn't exist, or compare the module if it already exists. We can also do the same comparison if you are running in your own project repository locally and you are not storing your modules in the root folder of this repository, but in subfolders. You can use that path as well. And we can rename a module with the move to parameter. And you can use all of, at the same time, another repository as a source. So we can move a module and rename it at the same time. And we can set a destination branch manually if you want to set one. It's the same syntax that is used. So here I could write chem2chem/18-dev to push on the chem-to-chem fork on this 18-dev branch. Upcoming features we have in mind, there is some idea from the community. This is to leverage MergeGiraffe tool to improve the conflicts resolution when there are some. This is an ID contribution from Raphael Vaeli from Accretion. It's still not yet ready, but we are discussing about that, how to implement it. Maybe to improve the UI, the output. We will see how to do that. And I have another idea, but that will be for later. It's really not ready. There is no work started on OCA-port about that. But this is linked to the second part of this talk, is to get a centralized database to get useful data, consolidated data about the migration in the Odoo ecosystem. So OCA-port could leverage this to know that this module, maybe your dependency has been renamed in the new version and you have to change your manifest file, this kind of ideas. So let's do a demonstration for OCA-port. Yeah, thank you. Is it okay like this? So let's say I want to compare, I am in stock logistic bear code repository, and we have a module called product multi bear code, I think. I put the fetch parameters to instruct OCA-port to fetch origin 16 and 18 branches. Otherwise, it doesn't fetch anything, and we just work with what it knows currently in your local copy. Put the verbose parameter to get the list of commits and extra information to get more details. And we can set the destination branch that will be camp to camp. Let's call it 18 port product multi bear code. We run, so it is fetching the branches, printing what is the source with the URL, git URL of the source and the target. And it detects one pull request to port for product multi bear code containing 2 commits. If we want manually, I do that in another shell. I didn't include this option yet in the tool. We can analyze the commits you would like to port. Okay, that seems legit. So let's try to port it. And there was no conflict this time. Everything could be done automatically. He proposed me to push my branch in the remote camp to camp. Let's do this. And then to create a draft pull request on the OCA repository. I accept. And we can see my draft pull request with a pull request body saying that we ported that one from 16 version to 18. You can change the pull request to port in the same session if you have a lot of them, and all these pull requests will be listed the same here. Let's say, I guess Pedro is the author of this pull request. I didn't check. He will review it. Generally, I wait for the CI to be green before putting it ready for review. Oh. So we arrived at the second part of this talk, which is about a tool that has started 2 or 3 years ago in Camp to Camp. This is about collecting Odoo modules data, then the migration data as well, because oca-port is also a Python package you can use to analyze the comparison of modules within repositories. And then to get figures about Odoo, OCA, and your own project that will be based on top of this data you collected everywhere. You can generate project change logs, and then improve your migration estimates and maintenance, like what modules need to be updated in my given project, because there is new version published in OCA. And I will do the demonstration first. So today this is called Odoo repositories. So it will collect, we will start with the configuration. So you declare your repositories you want to scan. So Odoo community, all OCA modules. So by default, almost all OCA repositories are included when you install the module. But we think about writing a scheduled task that could fetch this list of OCA repository directly in the OCA configuration of repositories. Something when everything is declared there. And you can say, okay, I want to scan this repository. It's not mandatory. If you want to collect migration data, for Odoo community it's not necessary, but for OCA it's important. The different add-ons paths we will find in this repository, and some flags to tell, okay, these modules are standard, enterprise, community contribution, and this is what is scanned currently for the different branch from 12 to 19. And we will get this. That one. So the current information from the manifest, license, the title, summary, the technical name, its version, where it is hosted, a URL computed to access it directly, the last scan commit, the flags that has been copied here, and some code analysis about the Python line of code, XML, JavaScript, CSS. And the version that have been detected, there is some bugs to resolve here. It tries to do some duplicates. And if there is a migration script attached to this version, that's useful for OCA when you are jumping from 14 to 18 and you want to be aware that there is some migration script in the middle, because he will be able to detect that and propose you, okay, that module has some migration script you are probably interested in. The dependency, the reverse dependency of that module, Python dependency, there is some. The project where this module is used, we will see that after. And the migration that doesn't apply here because we are not collecting migration data for Odoo community. It's the job of the editor. But if we check an OCA one, maybe that one. No, there is not. Because this is 18. say I want to do. We can check the product multi-bear code. It was in 16. Here there is the migration. So I configured several migration paths. The one 16 to 18, it said, okay, it is ported in 18, but you are probably missing commits. And that's OCA port that is providing that. So that's the one I ported just before. So once it will be merged upstream, this status will be changed to fully ported. We can get all this migration data here. So from 16 to 18, we can say, okay, that ones have been fully ported, so there is no change difference between the two versions. Some are still to migrate, that doesn't exist on 18. Some maybe have moved to standard. I put a question mark because we don't know, maybe that just Odoo that name a module that was named the same in OCA before. So we could re-qualify this to say, okay, maybe the OCA one will need to be renamed to my module underscore OCA. The ones that are ported, but some commits could be missing. Some that are replaced, and some to reviews if there is some pull request open for that module. And we can declare what a module is becoming for a given version, starting from a version. Let's say for OCA, web domain field, for instance. So starting from 17, web domain field has been replaced by web. So that's a configuration we need to do manually. We could fetch the data from a priori file from OpenMigrate and other places. Oops, sorry. Is it okay? Yeah. So there is two notions, the modules that are replaced and the module that are renamed. Renamed one means the Git history is shared. This is still the same. So we are able to do a commit comparison with OCA port with that. That means a module that is renamed could still be flagged as fully ported. It's just a renaming of the module. It could have been moved also from one repository to another. Like this. Like account invoice based invoicing mode that has been renamed partner invoicing mode starting from 15. And new features I developed yesterday, it's not yet stable, is to collect all data models, fields, and methods within this whole code base. So we could filter on 18. Like in account, there is this data model with all this method. We get some data like this and all the fields. The goal is to tell that to prevent when we develop, to prevent some conflicts when you are migrating modules or creating new modules. Say you are creating a method or a field that could conflict with one of the existing field or method in the dependency tree. Or when you migrate, if no-do method has changed its signature, you want to know that and to not miss this to avoid a regression. Because a new parameter has been added in Odoo for that method, you are avoiding it. And yeah, so that could be one of the OCA features for later, or another tool. I don't know yet. And then we can, of course, there is some module analysis report. So by version, organization, and repository, you can get some stats, as well with some graph. So the number of modules, or by Python lines of code, comparison with Odoo and OCA here. And we can declare projects. You could use that. Some business analysts use that at Chem2Chem to just to simulate a project before starting it, just to get an idea of what will be installed, what will be the number of lines of code, or the complexity of the project. And you can do your shopping. I choose a version, let's say 18. And I will import some modules in my project. Let's say I want to install shop floor. And sale workflow, or sale automatic workflow, I don't remember. Thank you. Automatically enable this option to import missing dependency, because I don't want to just these two modules install in my project. All these the dependency will be installed as well. I import it, and we will get some statistic about the number of modules grouped by organization in my project, or the lines of code, what it represents. So that means we will probably need to maintain that part, and that one is for Odoo. And group it here for by organization and repository with the number of line of code. So that's the same data we will find in the data menu, but adapted for your project. Because here we have a project in V14, for instance. There is far more modules. Odoo community doesn't represent a lot in that one, and there is a lot of OCA, and a bit of specific, a bit. A good part, but in terms of lines of code, it's not a lot. And once we have this data, let's say I want to migrate this project, which is in 14 to 18, and can migrate, generate the migration data for this migration path. And you will get this. So for Odoo standard, 14 modules have been removed. Maybe they have been merged in other standard modules. In OCA, there is all of this, so some are already fully ported. Maybe I will have to work on that part to migrate and to review the missing one. And you can export this data in a CSV that we will get more details in that CSV, like the migration script that should be played for a given module from 14 to 18. Well, I won't open it here because I need to speed up. And we can generate as well changelog. I will take that project. This is the same one, but for 18 that has been migrated. Let's say for the Odoo repository, we are running currently on this deploy commit, and I want to compare it with the last. If you do not put any value, it will take the last commit of the branch. I generate my changelog, it will run in the background, and then I can open it, And only for the modules installed in my project, it will be able to generate a changelog for these 11 modules installed from the standard Odoo community. It will skip all translation commits or commits that are based on files that doesn't matter, so it's only business code like Python, JavaScript, XML. So at a glance, you could plan with business analyst and customer where tests will have to be done. So mainly in accounting or inventory or whatever, depending on the change, so you can review them faster than checking the GitHub repository of Odoo. There is some upcoming features we have in mind. Accretion is also contributing a bit to this project. This is still hosted in Camp to Camp organization, but we plan to push it on OCA. If the community is interested, I will send an email on OCA contributors for that. Part of this are already started regarding the development, models, fields, method. I don't know if it will be useful or not. We will see. Maybe artificial intelligence will do better in the upcoming years. We don't know. And the goal is to integrate this consolidated data from the community to give migration tips for the developer within oca-port or another tool that oca-port could leverage, like he's doing for Odoo Module Migrator, to provide some helpful tips. And I think I am done.
Thank you very much.
You.
This was very interesting. We have a couple of minutes for the questions.
So where can we find this on Camp to Camp?
Here.
Thanks for the presentation. How long did it take to synchronize all the information from a GitHub repository for OCA? And the other question is, do you check out all that code locally to analyze the code, or what kind of strategy you do?
This instance is cloning locally all the repository you configure in it. At first, I would like to get a separate service to do that, and Odoo requesting that through an API, but I was missing some time to do that. So for now, it's cloning everything locally, but it works well. Regarding the time, initially, that will take some days, I confess. But after, it will restart only the comparison with the last commit is scanned from a given add-ons or repository. For instance, all these OCA repositories, it's about 200 that are scanned currently, and Odoo Community 1 and some others, the project ones in Camp to Camp. It takes between, it's 2 hours per night every day to collect this data. And that could be improved later. I have some ideas, especially the longest part is in oca-port to compare commits.
Just to precise, I was asking the question because in the Odoo, the OCA instance, we just also synchronize all the repository to do the shop of modules, and I guess we could find some way to do it in the same way.
Yeah, I checked this GitHub repository, I think GitHub integration. But yeah, for some reason, I didn't base my work on that because it was too focused on GitHub, and to me, it should work also on GitLab later for companies using GitLab locally for their project.
Okay. One last question. Let's go.
I think you should stress a little bit on how important and valuable is this work in the sense of, I mean, like explain maybe the use case that we had. Like we are migrating a huge project, and from day zero we could get a full picture of the effort that is going to take, what is missing, what do we have to pay attention to, and also keep track of the progress of the migration, especially when maybe someone else is migrating. So you always have to check each and every repository to see how it's going. I mean, all this data aggregation is fundamental not only for the devs, but also for PM and for BAs to understand what is the effort, also for planning the resources, and for giving a timeline to the customer.
Yeah, you are right. But business analysts in Camp to Camp are using that to spare a lot of hours. They are not to compare GitHub repository to know that this module has been ported or not. So they just click and they get the answer.
Yeah, and also the complexity, because you also have all the stats,
Yeah.
so you know what kind of effort that it is.
Yeah.
Can I ask a final question? So do you plan to take into account any complexity measures of the code itself? As far as I understood, you just take the lines of code and stuff like that, but no complexity measured like
Not yet, but that could be included, yeah.
And then the second question would be, I mean, for business analysts and project managers, also the data that needs to be migrated and the extent of which the data needs to be migrated needs to be taken into account for estimating the timeline and planning the resources. So have you plans to integrate that into the platform as well? So the data itself that is stored in a given project?
Yeah, but still no time to do that. But I would like to do some features about that, like a module we could install in customer instances that will push some key data that could be made templates, etc. We still need to migrate while the template language has changed with Odoo versions, but we still need to migrate it and keeping translations in different language. And yeah, we could configure this module to say, okay, push this data, these indicators, so business analysts are aware of what needs to be migrated.
Volume.
Yeah, volumes, number of sale orders or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. This was very interesting. Okay.